You're going to assume I turned him in because I was scared. Because I was doing the right thing, protecting my family, protecting my home. I need you to sit with me for a minute, because that is not what this is. His name was Darius. He moved into the unit below mine in early March, I remember, because there was still snow on the fire escape, and he carried his boxes up 3 flights himself. No help, no dolly, just him and 2 army green duffel bags. I watched from the landing. He nodded at me. I nodded back. That was the first time. Darius kept to himself. And I mean that in the way people mean it when they actually mean it, not the suspicious kind of keeping to yourself, not the curtains, never open kind. He said good morning. He held the front door. He left a note on my door once, a sticky note, orange, handwritten, that said my brake light was out. He'd seen my car on the street and taken the time to write that down and walk up 2 flights to stick it to my door. I kept that note for a while. I don't know why I'm telling you that. I guess I want you to understand who he was to me before I tell you what I did. I found out about the dealing the way I find out about most things, by accident, and then by paying too much attention afterward. A Tuesday afternoon in April, I came home early from work, a headache behind my left eye that had been building since noon. I passed his door on the 2nd floor, and there were 2 men in the hallway, neither of them Darius, and one of them was holding a small paper bag the way you hold something you don't want anyone to see you holding. They looked at me. I looked at them. I kept walking. I didn't say anything to myself about it, not out loud, but I started noticing. The kind of noticing you do when you already suspect something and you're building a case you didn't mean to build. Different people, different times of day, never loud, never obvious. Darius himself always looked the same, calm, put together, that orange sticky note version of himself. But the foot traffic through our front door had changed, and I knew it, and I knew why. Here is what I have to tell you, because without this part, none of it matters. Our building had been on the market for 4 months. Our landlord, a man named Gerald, had been making overtures to a developer. We all knew it, 3 units, all of us month to month, all of us nervous. Gerald had been looking for reasons. That's the word I would use. Looking. Reasons to clear us out so he could sell clean, sell vacant, sell at full price. I had a lease. Solid, documented. My neighbor on the 3rd floor, an older woman named Patricia, had lived there 11 years and had a lawyer's number on her fridge. Darius had moved in on a handshake and a month's deposit. No formal lease. Gerald had told him something about paperwork to follow. The paperwork never followed. I want to tell you I agonized over it. I want to tell you I lay awake for nights, turning it over, that I almost picked up the phone to warn Darius first. And there is some truth in that. I did lie awake. I did think about warning him. I even typed his number into my phone once, thumb hovering, because I'd gotten it off the building's shared contact list. But I didn't send anything. And I think I knew, even then, what I was actually weighing. Because here is the thing. Here is the thing I have been sitting with for 8 months now. If Darius was gone, if Gerald found out, if Darius was removed from that unit, our building became a harder sell. A vacancy, a complication, a story. Developers want clean. They want simple. A messy building with a recent incident becomes a negotiation. And that negotiation buys time. Time for Patricia, time for me. Time for us to figure something out, find somewhere to go, not get blindsided in November with 30 days and nowhere. I called Gerald on a Wednesday morning. I said I had concerns about the tenant in 2B. I said I'd seen activity I didn't feel comfortable describing in detail. I said I thought he should look into it. I was careful with every word. Careful the way you are when you know exactly what you're doing, and you want to be able to tell yourself later that you didn't really do it. Gerald didn't ask questions. He thanked me. His voice had something in it I didn't like, relief, maybe, or something closer to satisfaction. And I hung up and I stood in my kitchen and I looked at the floor, because directly below my feet, Darius was probably making coffee or folding laundry or doing whatever a quiet, careful man does on a Wednesday morning before his life changes. He was gone inside of 3 weeks. I don't know the details. I don't know if Gerald involved anyone else, if there were legal proceedings, if Darius was arrested or just pressured out, or had the door knocked on by the wrong person at the wrong time. I told myself not to look for information, and I mostly kept that promise. What I do know is that by the second week of May, his unit was empty and the building didn't sell. Gerald got into a dispute with the developer over something unrelated to us, something about permits, and the whole thing fell apart anyway. Patricia is still there. I'm still there. Darius is not. I used to tell myself that I didn't know what would happen when I called, that I was just raising a concern, that Gerald would have found out eventually, that Darius was doing something wrong and I had every right to report it. I used to say those things in my head like they were a counterargument to something. But a counterargument means there's an argument, and I knew the argument. I knew it when I was standing in my kitchen with Gerald's number on my screen, and I knew it when I heard the satisfaction in his voice, and I knew it when I passed to be the last time, and there was nothing on the other side of that door. I didn't make that call because I was afraid. I didn't make that call because I was protecting anyone. I made that call because Darius was useful to me in that moment, and I knew he couldn't fight it. His name was Darius. He wrote me a note about my brake light, and I handed him to a man who was looking for a reason. I don't know where he is now. I've thought about that more than I've thought about most things in my life. I think about the orange sticky note. I think about him nodding at me from the landing with 2 duffel bags and no help and no lease and no idea what was coming. I saved my apartment. I don't know what I lost to do it. I'm not sure I want to know. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments.